Do Hyuk asks Taepong if he is alright. Taepong tells him that he can't move because of his leg. Do Hyuk sees that he is injured. He places his hand over Taepong's leg, and he says the spell incantation, "Heavens, send down your blessings." He activates healing him, and a soothing green light appears, and surrounds them. Moments later, the wound on Taepong's leg disappears. Do Hyuk asks him if he is able to walk now. Taepong tells him yes, he can move his leg again, and he thanks him. Do Hyuk tells him that if he walks in the direction behind him, he will find his way out to the ISU station. Taepong notices the giant toad monster is making its way towards them. He shouts, "Behind you," but Do Hyuk remains calm. They are seconds away from being devoured, and then suddenly, the monster comes to a halt. Akron grappled onto its tail and stopped the monster in its tracks. Do Hyuk orders Akron to take it out. Akron responds, Akron obeys. Akron swings the monster by its tail and slams it into the ground. Taepong is watching with a blank expression. Do Hyuk extends his hand to give him an assist. He urges him to hurry up and get going, because he has to go and save the others. Meanwhile, at the ISU station, the two young awakened, Jejun Kim and Min Soo-yoon, are still on site, doing crowd control. "Dear citizens, there's danger here, please evacuate." Moments later, Yoon So-lee and a man in a suit arrive at the scene. They step underneath the barricade tape. Min Soo-yoon shouts at them. He tells them that this is a restricted area right now, and that they can't just come in. The man in the suit tells him, he is Daeho Choi from the KMAA Seoul office. This man is the deputy head of the KMAA Seoul branch. He asks them if the dungeon interior has been checked. The two young awakened quickly bow their heads, and they tell him it's an honor to meet him. Daeho Choi asks them what they are doing. They tell him they are just very glad to meet him, and that they were controlling the crowd. They also tell him that some obnoxious awakened went inside the dungeon. Daeho Choi places his hand over his forehead, and he lets out a sigh of disappointment. He asks them, while that obnoxious awakened walked through the dimension gate, what exactly did the two of them do? Jejun Kim tells him that they were waiting for the KMAA reinforcements to arrive. Min Soo-yoon tells him that a monster might walk out of the dimension gate, so they can't let a massacre occur. Daeho Choi asks him if a monster came through. Min Soo-yoon replies, well, not really. Daeho Choi begins questioning them about their intentions. He asks them if they never even thought about rescuing the civilians, who were sucked inside, or supporting the awakened who walked in. He then asks them if they have forgotten the duties of an awakened, and if they don't know how great the responsibilities of an awakened are when an unexpected disaster occurs. Yoon So-lee interrupts him. She tells him that they probably don't have the time to lecture them. Daeho Choi comes to his senses, and tells her that she is right. He suggests that they walk in right away. They proceed towards the dimension gate. Inside the dungeon, Do Hyuk is using his drones to locate the remaining survivors. He finds a girl who is still alive, but she is about to be eaten by a monster. She is the last survivor. He immediately makes his way towards her. When he reaches the edge of the woods, he leaps into the air and begins activating a spell. He aims at his target as he says the spell incantation. He unleashes Acid Arrow and obliterates the monster. As soon as Do Hyuk lands on the ground, he gets a throbbing headache. He realizes that casting multiple spells back to back is giving him headaches. However, he is determined to keep going, because he still has some energy left. Suddenly, he hears loud rustling in the woods around them. Moments later, a monster appears behind them, and then another one appears in front of them. One of the monsters immediately attacks them. Do Hyuk quickly grabs the girl and jumps to dodge, and he activates Web to keep the monster restrained. Do Hyuk begins running, and he tells the girl to hang in there. The girl shouts at him to look out because the other monster is coming after them. Just when the monster is about to reach them, Do Hyuk activates Haste to quickly escape its grasp. He then jumps into the air and begins activating the web spell. He shoots several balls of web at the monster from above. The monster becomes covered in spider webs. Do Hyuk looks at the monster from a good distance and sees that it is unable to move. He raises his hand and begins activating another spell. He says the incantation, Incarnation of Hell's Fire, and he activates Fireball. Meanwhile, Yunso Lee and Daeho Choi just stepped inside the dungeon. Daeho Choi says they should split up and start searching, and Yunso agrees. A glowing light suddenly catches Yunso's attention. She points to the sky and tells Daeho Choi to look. A bright large light, like the sun, has appeared in the sky. Balls of fire are heading towards the monster. Moments later, Daeho Choi and Yunso Lee find themselves watching the fiery blast envelop the sky. Clouds of smoke begin to rise to the sky. They continue to watch as the light from the fiery blast dims. Suddenly, they hear sounds of rustling in the woods next to them. Daeho Choi shouts, "Who's there?" Akron appears before them. Yunso Lee and Daeho Choi immediately raise their guard against Akron. And then, a man also appears, holding onto Akron's arm. He asks Akron if they are there yet. The man notices Yunso Lee and Daeho Choi standing outside the dimensional gate. He shouts for everyone to look. Another person appears and exclaims that it's the KMAA. More people come out of the woods, and they rush over to them with excitement. Taepong falls to the ground from a shock of relief, and he exclaims that they are saved. Daeho Choi realizes that these are the people who were sucked into the dungeon during the outbreak. He then turns his attention to Akron. He wonders what the golem is about. Yunso Lee looks at Akron and wonders the same. She doesn't know of any awakened who is capable of creating such an advanced golem. Akron suddenly speaks to them. He tells them that based on the reactions of the people, he sees that they are the KMAA. Therefore, his mission is over, so he will be returning to his master. Yunso Lee asks him about his master. Akron answers her, "Do Hyuk Park, my master." Daeho Choi calls out to Yunso Lee, and he asks her if she did not say Do Hyuk Park was a spellcaster. Yunso Lee tells him he is a spellcaster who can create bombs. Daeho Choi remarks that the KMAA database is not properly updated then. He says they had absolutely no idea that Do Hyuk Park is capable of all of this. He tells Yunso Lee to please get these people out of here first. She replies, "Yes, sir." He says he is going to stay and look around some more, and he begins running. He heads towards the direction where the huge fiery blast occurred earlier. Something catches his attention up ahead. When he arrives at the scene, he becomes shocked by what he finds. He sees a large crater in the ground and two dead monsters. He wonders what all this is. He walks up to one of the monsters to examine it. He recognizes that it's the hell monkfish. He wonders how Do Hyuk managed to incinerate them, because the hell monkfish is a C-rank dungeon monster that has a high resistance to fire. He touches the slimy substance on the monster, and he wonders if it's related to how Do Hyuk defeated them. Someone suddenly approaches him, and asks who's there. Daeho Choi asks the person if he is Mr. Do Hyuk Park, and he asks him if there are any more survivors who need to be rescued. Do Hyuk tells him no, and that he was just heading out with the last survivor who was with him. Daeho Choi introduces himself to Do Hyuk. He tells him that he is the deputy head of the KMAA Seoul office, and he thanks him for his emergency rescue support. That evening, the ISU station outbreak made headlines on Deusnet. The highlight of the news coverage was the press conference held by the SS rank awakened, Daeho Choi. Daeho Choi tells the audience that he thinks Do Hyuk Park's actions exemplified the true duty of an awakened. Do Hyuk Park did not fear death, and he did not hesitate to step into the Dimension Gate as soon as the outbreak occurred. His determination to save lives gave him all the courage to jump. Daeho Choi also informs everyone that all 10 civilians who were sucked inside the dungeon were safely rescued, and that they are truly grateful to Do Hyuk Park. Meanwhile, Do Hyuk and Songmi are getting ready to enter a dungeon. Songmi is watching the press conference on her phone, and she asks Do Hyuk if this is the reason why he was busy the last few days. Do Hyuk tells her the outbreak was a complete coincidence. He says he had other things to take care of and it took some time. Do Hyuk is now a level 9 alchemist. Prior to the ISU station outbreak, Do Hyuk had acquired 2 class 3 spells. Fireball is a spell that allows him to create 4 fireballs and burn the opponent. Haste is a spell that increases the subject's speed for a certain duration of time. The speed effects of the spell are based on caster's wisdom level. After fighting off the C-rank Hell Monkfish monsters, he acquired a handful of artifacts. Truth or Lie trump cards, a magic grade item that allows the user to determine whether someone is telling the truth by repeating the words of that person's statement. Usage of this skill is limited to 2 times a day. The Passionate Perfume Bottle, a magic grade item that acts as an aphrodisiac. It causes the opposite sex to find the user 5 times more desirable. In addition, one will experience 5 times the pleasure during sex. The last artifact he acquired is the Ring of Faith and Light. It's a unique grade item that increases wisdom by 100, luck by 50, and magic defenses by 50. In addition, the wearer can use nearby sources of light to store 50 units of magic as reserves that can be used when needed. After Do Hyuk reached level 9 as an alchemist, he began making enhancements on Akron. He spends 20 of his active skill magic points to use the Reinforcement Alchemy skill. This skill allows him to incorporate a high-quality dimension stone into Akron to strengthen his armor and increase his magic storage capacity. In addition, Akron gains the ability to learn 1 additional spell. However, it comes at the cost of his motor skills, albeit slightly. The Reinforcement Alchemy resulted in Akron's attack ability to increase from 100 to 112%. His magic storage capacity increased from 1,000 to 1,500. In addition, his armor reinforcement was upgraded from regular rank C to reinforced rank B. His motor skills decreased from 100 to 92%. In addition to armor and burning hands, Akron gains a slot to learn a new spell. The system prompts Do Hyuk to chant the spell he wants to add. He holds out his hand and says, "Strengthening of Speed, Haste." The system begins the spell enhancement and completes the process. In addition to the upgrades, Akron takes on a new appearance. Do Hyuk walks up to Akron to check out the finished product. He remarks that he seems as more reliable as ever. He tells Akron to please have his back. Akron responds, Akron will protect Master until Akron's death. Do Hyuk is reminiscing about the last few days, when suddenly, Songmi calls out to him. She tells him that the next monster is coming. Do Hyuk comes back to reality, and he tells her he'll be right there. A breastplate troll approaches them. Moments later, more breastplate trolls arrive. Do Hyuk prepares to activate a spell, and he tells Songmi to do what she did earlier. She stands in front of the trolls and one begins to attack her. Do Hyuk activates Web, and he fires at the troll. His attack immobilizes the troll, giving Songmi the opportunity to counterattack. She quickly slashes the troll with her sword. The troll becomes agitated, and it focuses its attention on Songmi. She runs behind the troll to distract it, as Do Hyuk prepares to launch an assault. Songmi activates her Provoke skill to draw the other trolls towards her. The trolls begin to gather around Songmi. Meanwhile, Do Hyuk bides his time to attack. He knows that breastplate trolls are invincible to attacks on their front body. To defeat them, they need to attack from behind, where they are vulnerable. The trolls have now gathered in front of Songmi with their backs completely turned towards Do Hyuk. Do Hyuk shouts to signal Songmi. She tells him she is ready. Do Hyuk proceeds to activate Fireball. His attack creates a huge fiery blast that completely envelops the targeted area. The trolls screech in pain as they are being incinerated by the flames. Do-hyuk begins to wonder if Song-mi is okay. Moments later, Song-mi comes running out of the blast. Do-hyuk is relieved to see she is fine. Until he sees something else. He shouts to warn her. "Song-mi, behind you." Song-mi is thrashed hard into the wall. Do-hyuk panics and calls out to her. Song-mi responds, to let him know that she is okay. Right before she was attacked, she managed to quickly react and use her shield to avoid a direct blow. The troll has survived the fireball attack, and it is able to withstand the flames. It is angry at Do-hyuk, and it begins charging towards him. Do-hyuk wonders if there's a way to kill this monster in one blow. He activates Lightning Bolt, and he holds onto it. He thinks that, if he compresses the power of this spell, he can probably pierce the troll's armor. With Lightning Bolt now supercharged in his hand, he activates Haste and launches himself towards the troll. When he reaches the troll, Do-hyuk thrusts his hand into the troll's chest and unleashes his attack. The lightning bolt successfully penetrated the troll's armor. Do-hyuk quickly jumps back as the troll falls forward and onto the ground. One of Do-hyuk's drones is exploring the dungeon and surveying the area. The drone comes across a strange-looking cave that appears to be an entrance to somewhere. Meanwhile, Do-hyuk is tending to Song-mi's injuries. Song-mi is upset at him. She tells him what he did earlier was too dangerous. Do-hyuk is surprised to hear her concern. He tells her that he was just worried that she was injured. Song-mi reminds him that she is a tanker, and what she experienced was nothing. And then suddenly, Song-mi becomes a little emotional. She calls Do-hyuk Oppa, and she tells him that he was putting himself in grave danger. Do-hyuk takes a moment to process what she is trying to say to him. He pats her on the head, and thanks her for her concern. Song-mi is a little taken aback by his nonchalant response. Do-hyuk tells her that he isn't one to push beyond his limits, and that he calculated his fight against the last troll to be well in his favor. Song-mi tells him that she was just scared that she would lose a good partner. She then apologizes to him for making a fuss. Do-hyuk tells her it's no worries, and that he will also work on himself and choose a safer attack strategy next time. Moments later, the drone returns to Do-hyuk. Do-hyuk gets up and tells Song-mi to rest for a while. Song-mi asks him where he is going. He tells her that he sent out his drones to perform a reconnaissance in the dungeon because of that incident last time with the assassins. And one of the drones found something that looked suspicious. Song-mi tells him she'll go with him. Do-hyuk tells her no, and he will come straight back if it appears to be dangerous. He also tells her that she should use this opportunity to rest, because they won't be getting any other breaks from here on out. He tells her he will have his drones keep watch, so she can rest comfortably without worry. Song-mi says okay, and she tells him to be careful. Do-hyuk is on his way to the place, where his drone found a suspicious-looking cave. He eventually arrives at the location, and he wonders if this is the cave. He stands in front of the entrance to get a closer look. He wonders what it is, because he hasn't seen something like it in DNF either. He becomes curious, and he decides to walk inside. He thinks that there must be a reason for an artificial-looking structure to be here. As he walks farther into the cave, he doesn't notice that something is off. He continues walking. Until he suddenly finds himself walking on a road. He sees a tower at the end of the road. He also sees that he is on a bridge in the middle of a Red Sea. He wonders where the hell he is. Suddenly, he hears a loud blast behind him. He quickly turns around to look. He wonders what is going on. As the cloud of dust clears, a figure resembling a person begins to appear. Do-hyuk is astounded by what he sees, and he is in disbelief. A man with a long beard and shoulder-length gray hair. A long robe in the shade of deep red. And the maroon staff with a mysterious blue light. He calls the man by his name. Berhard? The man tells Do Hyuk that he is the first person to call him by his name, upon his meeting someone for the first time. He asks him how he knows his name. Do Hyuk is more confused than ever. He wonders what an NPC from DNF is doing here, outside the game, and in real life. Do Hyuk tells him that there is someone who looks exactly like him, in a game from his world. Berhard is surprised to hear that there is a being just like him. He remarks, "How interesting." Do Hyuk agrees, and he tells him that he feels like he's in a dream, and he asks him how this could be possible. Berhard tells him that many other world visitors like him said the same thing. Do Hyuk questions, "Other world visitors?" Berhard explains that they are beings like him, who enter through cracks in space and time. The ones who live in a different world from his own. He then tells Do Hyuk that this is a test arena that he set up for people from the other world. He explains to him that this is where he can realize his full potential and verify his abilities. Do Hyuk asks him if other people have taken this test prior to him. Berhard tells him yes, however, no one has succeeded. Many came close, but failed on the last step. He asks Do Hyuk if he would like to give it a try. He then tells him that it's a test that handsomely rewards the successful, and teaches the unsuccessful a lesson in humility with regards to their abilities. Do Hyuk is thinking, it doesn't matter if it's in his world, or in this one. If he passes this test, he can advance to a higher level. He tells Berhard he accepts the challenge. He is thinking, I'll do whatever it takes.